Hey, how's it going? So today we're going to play some games with Lost Zone Giratina. This deck went from being like the biggest meta share at regionals to basically being nowhere. So today we're going to try to figure out if it is still good or not. Now it's just a basic Lost Zone engine with Comfeys and Colresses, but our main attacker is Giratina VSTAR. For Grass, Psychic, Colorless, it does 280, and then we have to put 2 energy attached to any of our Pokemon into the Lost Zone, so they don't necessarily have to be off the active. And then it has a V-Star attack for Grass Psychic that just KOs the active, so that is pretty strong. Its basic has an attack for a colorless Abyss Seeking, which is going to be one of the main ways we get cards into the Lost Zone. We're going to want to go second most of the time and just use Abyss Seeking that looks at the top 4 cards and puts 2 in our hand, 2 in the Lost Zone. And it also has an attack for Grass Psychic Colorless that does 160, and it's a shred attack, so it goes through all effects. We have Sableye in the deck, of course. It's just an insanely strong card. We get to put 12 damage counters wherever we want, as long as we have 10 or more cards in the Lost Zone. Very strong. We can also attack with Greninja in this deck. I only chose to do 2 water energy because the deck just ends up being like 15 energy, and that is just so clunky I can't do it. So we can attack with it, we just need to have both our waters. We of course have Cram, and the new addition to the deck is Bloodmoon Ursaluna that does 240, and we can attack for free at the end of the game if our opponent's down to 1 prize. It also has 260 HP, so it's pretty tanky. We have Jamming Tower and Sinnoh as just 2 kind of more disruptive stadiums. One with Prime Catcher for the ace spec, and we also have 2 Roxanne in here. This deck does end up playing from behind a lot, that's why we have the double Roxanne, double Counter Catcher. We're going to want to like set up our board, let our opponent take a few prizes, and then hit them with like Roxanne and maybe Counter Catcher to knock out their support Pokemon, or bring something big in the active so we can Sableye the bench, or just knock out whatever we want with Giratina. Yeah, that's the deck, so let's check out the games. We have a Pidgey in the active here, so this really could be any number of decks or just any fun stage 2 that our opponent's trying out, which it does seem to be the latter, which is Gengar, I guess, so that's kind of cool. This is a deck I've been messing around with as well. I have not had the best luck with the Pidgey and Barrel engine with it. I personally just like the Barrel engine in Gengar, but we'll see. It just seems to kind of clunk up with both, with the Pidgey as well as the Barrel, and you don't need to like pick out a specific card each turn. From what I've found, you just want to draw more cards just to get your stage 2s out and stuff, but I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. I'll have to try it again with Pidgeot. Alright, we start with a decent hand here. I wanted to Nest Ball for Greninja there so that I could maybe Greninja concealed cards into a way to get my Comfeys out of the deck so that I wouldn't have to Colress into this kind of awkward decision here and have to choose between Buddy Poffin and, you know, my Roxannes and stuff. Kind of another awkward Abyss Seeking, but I do just take the Colress and the Switch. Kind of sucks to see like 2 switching cards with this deck, because there really isn't that many. There's like the 3 Jets and 3 Switch Cart, or 3 Switch and 2 Switch Cards, so that's what, 3, 5, 8. So I guess it's like more than normal Lost Box. For some reason it always just feels like it has less though, because the Jets, I don't know, if you want to attach an energy somewhere else, you can't use the Jet anyway. I was also kind of surprised to see them still playing Headquarters. I've noticed every Gengar, which there's not like a big amount to see, or there's not a lot of people playing Gengar, but I noticed a lot of the people cutting the Headquarters, and I also cut it because you have the handheld fan, which doesn't do the same thing, but it does something a little similar. I don't know, there really isn't a much better stadium to play with the deck though, except for maybe Mist Energy, because I don't think you can move the energies around off a Pokemon with a mist on it. Just gonna Nest Ball for Cram here to at least take a knockout. I want to start taking prizes, and next turn I can, you know, get to at least 7, or now I'm going to be at 7, but I could get to 10 maybe to start Requiem, the Gengar that's probably going to be in the active. And with the Jet, I can also unlock my Mirage Gates, which is kind of nice. I'm not really that good at Tina. The deck's a little weird to play. Like, I think you're supposed to play the second Mirage Gate here and like throw down like grass onto the Tina V and then water onto the V-Star, just to have 2 Pokemon kind of set up. But I don't know, it always feels wrong whenever I play like lost boxes. I hold off on the Mirage Gates and the Super Odds until I'm gonna actually attack with them, which might not, I don't know, I don't think that's correct anymore is what I've been told. But it just always seems like I get punished for putting energy and stuff down early. Like if preemptively start to set up an Iron Hands, they just boss and knock it out. Like, I'll do it more if I already have a threat in the active, but Cram I don't think is really a big enough like threat to rely on, like my opponent not wanting to boss knock something out. This deck can't one-shot anything, so I probably should have just played it, but I'm talking about other matchups really. And I can get my Greninja out now, and I would really like to get into a Colress so that I could just start Requiem this Gengar and kind of win the game basically. But I get the ever so awkward decision of Prime Catcher and Rescue Board. Always feels bad flower selecting into 2 1-ofs. I was thinking about taking the board just so I could hit into the Gengar, but I think the Prime Catcher is correct. What my thought here was I'm going to Prime Catcher the Rotom, knock that out, and then all I have to do is Star Requiem, the active Gengar, and Sableye the Bibarel or the Pidgey or whatever, and I win the game. So that seems like a pretty straightforward and very achievable line to take the rest of my prizes, so I do end up going for that. I have to get rid of Water Psychic because I do believe I prized a grass energy this game. Either way, there are less grass energies in the deck, so it never hurts to keep that one around. They are going to move the energy off anyway, which is kind of annoying. Like that's the whole gimmick of Gengar, right? Is that you're moving energy with the attack, and then you have the handheld fan now to also move energy when your opponent hits you, so they can attack into you with a full built-up attacker, and then, you know, you're going to move 2 energies off it, which is kind of nice. And then it makes them put more energy in play, and then they take more damage with the Gengar's abilities. So it's kind of a cool deck. I feel like it's just missing one thing from being good, and I really don't know what it is. I like the idea of the deck a lot. It's just never works out as good in practice, unfortunately. There are some games though where you make like some pretty cool comebacks where like Iono or Roxanne, your opponent's super low, move all their energy off, and they just can't do anything. But never my favorite strategy. It's a fun strategy, but it always kind of feels bad relying on your opponent to not draw something. Of course, we top deck the Switch Cart. That always is terrible in Tino because you can't move your attackers with Switch Cart or your V-Stars. But we do Colress into a pretty good selection of cards. Enough to get the knockout here, I believe. Or no, I need a Mirage Gate, right? Yeah, I think we need a Mirage Gate, or at the very least a grass energy. So I can just jet up the Comfey. I kept forgetting about Gengar's ability here. Luckily I didn't just knock out my Comfey with that. But we do get into the Mirage Gate, and here I can't remember how many energy I have prized. So I think I end up retreating and super routing first, just to find out that I didn't need to do that. I had plenty of energy in the deck. I don't know, I've been kind of out of it lately and like not fully paying attention and stuff. It's kind of annoying, but what can you do? As you can see, I will super rod Cram Grass Psychic here. That makes sense as the selection, but I had plenty of energy in the deck, so I could have held off on the super rod for a turn. even though it doesn't really matter. I might as well make sure I have the stuff in the deck, because now this attacker is enough to just win the game. There's nothing they can send up that I can't knock out with Star Requiem, or Lost Impact, I mean. So that's a, you know, pretty good win. Kind of shows that Tina can still keep up with the rogue decks. So our opponent here starts a Radiant Greninja. I'm kind of hoping this isn't a mirror match and then they get rid of a fire. So at first I was thinking it's Sablezard, but they immediately bench a Gouging Fire, so it's definitely not Sablezard. Sablezard would probably be a pretty bad matchup, I guess. I'm guessing, I mean, because it ends up limiting me quite a bit on how many Comfeys I can bench, and it's just generally all around and makes it annoying to play against. But I do Comfey right into a Colress, so that is kind of nice. It's a little bit of an awkward decision here. I have to choose right now if I ever want to attack with Greninja throughout the game, and I have not searched my deck, so I don't know if my other super odds are in there. Just kind of an awkward decision, but this matchup's a little weird because I want to Abyss Seeking so that I can start attacking for knockouts next turn. But there's a good chance that they will be able to knock out one of my Tinas, but I do think that's a risk I might have to take. Maybe I should have just passed or retreated to Sableye and passed. I don't know, it's kind of weird. I feel like I really need to make them have it. Another awkward Abyss Seeking or Lost Zone selection. I really want the V-Star so that I can take a knockout next turn, and I would like to have access to Greninja in case they put like charms on their guys, or not charms, what are they called? The booster capsules. Then I can hit the active one with Greninja for 180 and set up the benched one to be knocked out with my Tina. I don't know, maybe Sableye is just more efficient at doing that, so maybe I should have just ditched the water in the Greninja. I don't know. Greninja is nice to have around, but this doesn't really strike me as the type of deck that's going to disrupt my hand a whole lot or anything like that. And they do get their Magma Basin, so now all they need is an energy switch, and they got it. I guess I forgot this deck does play energy switches. Now that I'm thinking about it, it always plays it, I think, because that's why it has the Delphox. At the time I was like, oh man, they're playing energy switch too, but I think they always have it. This is where I would really like to weave in a one prize attacker like Greninja or Sableye or Cram, but I can't get to 10 this turn. I would need a really crazy combination of cards to be able to attack with Sableye, and I can't. Yeah, there's really not much I can do here. Like, my plan now is hit them for 280 with Lost Impact, and then find my Vacuum and vacuum away their booster capsule, and hopefully also be able to knock out the other one that they push into the active. But not being able to bench another Tina V really kind of sets me back here. And this is where like a Cram would be perfect, because it would put them at 3 prizes. And I could go Roxanne and knock out, and hopefully they just can't build up another Gouging Fire. But they do get double Monkey down. That's kind of wild. I didn't even know that these decks played 2 Monkey Dory. Like, that seems a little excessive for something that's just going to move 2 damage counters off from your Magma Basins. Like, I just don't really know if you need to. It ends up being pretty broken right here, though. This is the craziest turn I've ever seen from a Gouging Fire deck. Normally when I play against this deck, they can barely attack twice in a row. And this guy just gets double dark on 2 of his Monkey Dories and gets 2 of the guys set up. Like, and the Mew down to protect against Roxanne. I don't know, that's kind of crazy to me. But we do top deck the Psychic, which is nice. Now I can do my plan of attacking with Sableye. Of course, their double Monkey also made it so that I can't, and their Switch card made it so that I can't just vacuum off the charm off of the bench Gouging Fire. I don't know. And I don't bench the Bloodmoon there because they can't win next turn if I don't have a 2 prizer on the bench. That turn was crazy. just like being able to put a dark in play and E-switch over, like get 2 of them set up is kind of wild and pretty unlucky. Like, I don't know. I just got kind of a bad start. I don't know if it's unlucky. The deck Tina plays like 15 energy or 14 or something like that. So I don't really know if like luck is a factor when you're playing that many energy in the deck. And here I have to I put all the damage onto the same gouging fire. This is what I'm trying to think about right now, because I don't want them to be able to just knock out my Sableye and then move enough damage to my Comfey to knock it out with the Monkey Dories. Like if they have a switch or something like that, they can switch, retreat, knock out Sableye and just win the game. And I feel pretty good about having decent odds to win next turn if I am able to knock out their only built up gouging fire, but they do get another one down and I'm not able to replace that stadium last turn. So they do go down to 1 prize and now they're pretty close to winning, which is kind of unfortunate. So I can, if I can find my vacuum, well no, I have jamming tower, so I don't need vacuum. But I can knock this gouging fire here out with my Bloodmoon and just really just hope that they can't get another one set up. That's kind of my only option. I almost played the stadium too early. That would have been kind of dumb. But that's kind of what Tina does, right? It gets close to the end and you just set your opponent to a low hand and try and knock out whatever they put in front of you and hope that that's enough to win. Now I do get the jet and switch cart here, so I am gonna just use this Comfey and heal it down to 10 damage just so that they can't, I don't know what they could do to move 30 damage over here, but apparently I was worried that there was something. Now that I'm watching it back, I don't think there was anything they were doing to move 30 damage over to my guy. Who knows though. Looks like they're thinning out their hand for Mew. And they don't use the Mew, like they just sequenced that wrong. I guess maybe they thought they were going to get an Ultra Ball, but it doesn't matter because they get the Pokemon catcher heads and knock out my Comfey. And we do end up losing that game. Yeah, I don't know how good of a spot Tina is in right now. It doesn't necessarily seem bad. It doesn't really feel worse than before, but I kind of always thought that the deck felt clunky and kind of like it was just an act of God every single game that you won. But it did well enough at tournaments. I don't know, maybe I just don't know how to play it or something. Because I just always felt like it wasn't consistent at all. It was like it felt like one of the least consistent decks, and like the power level wasn't really there ever since Path rotated. Like if we had Path right there, that game probably would have been locked up because they wouldn't have been able to draw with Mew or Greninja and they would have just passed. So ever since Path rotated, I've just kind of felt like the deck is not really at the same spot that it was, obviously. Yeah, I don't know. I can't really tell. I feel like I've just not been playing that good lately. This format just hasn't been very fun. Been having trouble even forcing myself to play the game. Something about it has not been fun at all. Everyone else says that the format is like game is in one of the greatest spots ever, so it's probably just me. But yeah, I don't know. Like or dislike or whatever, and comment and subscribe, and take care.